Why don't you talk a little bit about what you're going to be discussing after the break? And we're going to take a break in about 20 minutes.
Yeah, so we are blessed to have Tyler and Clay come speak. So they're going to give us a macro version of what's going on in the markets. That's kind of what I talked about last year. So this year I'm going to talk more about what we go through internally and how we dissect and look at a property. So that way when you guys get a business plan on your desk, it's not just something that we threw together and it's a bunch of numbers. You get to see the process and understand the behind the scenes and the workings of how we got to that business plan and why we look at certain buildings and how we kind of approach and attack acquisitions. We thought that'd be an interesting thing for our investors to get to know so that you have a better understanding of the business plan and what went into it when you get it and it comes in an email and you have 2 hours to respond.
Yeah. So, but also, why don't you talk a little bit about the power of having this group at your disposal, while you're looking at deals.
Yeah. Again, we're huge believers that information is king, and being able to have my job and then be able to walk, you guys got to see the office, to be able to walk 10 feet away, 15 feet, and go talk to Leslie about what I see in a financial statement, and understand that we run enough properties that I can look and say, well, this deal in San Antonio is running a little funky here. How come they have delinquent rents here? Can we adjust here? So I'm able to maneuver financials and understand where I can possibly grow potential acquisition because I have someone who runs 9,000 units that I can go talk to. I don't have to pick up a phone or talk to some CoStar service or talk to somebody on some sort of help desk. I have the president right there at my fingertips that can give me the information that will best serve me in acquisitions. And I also have Eric, who can understand where we're going to go with marketing, how they running their marketing department, where can we improve, how can we improve occupancy.
And Andy on the CapEx side.
And Andy on the CapEx side, when I go tour a property, I always have somebody come with me. Construction is not my background, so I get to have somebody that knows and understands the inner workings of buildings and can see things that my eyes would never pick up just walking the grounds. So we're so full service that by the time we get to making an offer, we have all of our ducks in a row. This isn't just something that we kind of are guessing on or don't understand. That we are fully informed, and that's puts us ahead of 98% of the competition.
Right. Thank you. Big hand for Charlie. Eric. Okay, Eric. So Eric, well, I'll let Leslie talk a little bit about how we found Eric. So it's a very interesting story. He moved his family here from Detroit, and I'm like, who is this guy? Like, he's got this crazy philosophy on increasing traffic to our properties, and it was born out of fear, right, on his own properties. So he owns buildings, was running into the recession, was afraid of losing them, and said, I don't have any money to spend, and I need to figure this out. So he became a bit of an icon in our industry and was speaking nationally at the National Apartment Association. Leslie, right? You want to talk about that?
Well, yeah. Over the years, Eric and I have kind of had a relationship over social media. I followed him like a stalker. And so I watched a lot of what he was accomplishing within his company and looked inward at our company and have talked with Ken and Ross a great deal about how effective really is our marketing. And so we knew we needed something different. And so I reached out to Eric on a whim to say, hey, who do you know that's like you that we can bring into the company? And he said, well, what about me? So he came out and we met and he started.
Yeah. So Eric, you want to chat a little bit about some of the things that you've done?
Well, yeah, we're going to talk about a lot of that, in our presentation. But, just a couple things I think that are important to you guys as investors is about what we do at MC is, so for me, I happen to fall in that after 55 group. And I was really certainly wasn't looking for a job. I was just cruising around, but I wanted to test some ideas on a bigger platform. It's one thing to do it with small properties, which is what we have in Detroit, but it's quite another to scale it across, 8,000 or 9,000 units, 3 states, 7 regions. And the thing that is not normal is like these guys just let me go. And I'm kind of the wrong guy to do that with sometimes. But Ken's got a saying, he's like, go do this and ask for forgiveness later. And so we did it, and I think we've created a pretty good result. But I want to point out one other thing too. Lots of us at MC, we're worker bees, right? We roll our sleeves up and we do it. We do the work. But we're also allowed to do other things. And I want to point out Tori for just a second. So during the day, Tori is our front desk receptionist, right? But she's running the show here today. And I'd like to give her a big hand for that.
Yeah.
But, so anyway, Ken and Ross and Leslie have just provided all of us, whether it's what we're doing, a platform to play on a bigger field. So thanks for that.
Yeah. So Eric, why don't you talk? Eric's got a talk this afternoon. Why don't you just give them a little snippet of what they're going to see?
Yeah. So we've taken an approach with our marketing that I don't think people really give a rip about our shiny new pools and all that stuff. That's an expectation. So we've taken an approach with our marketing and advertising to focus on eat, shop, play in the local neighborhoods that we own and operate our assets in. And so you can see our little setup back in the back. We do a lot of event marketing. There's really nothing over there that says anything about our apartments. And we've done that in a big way. We think that social media, if you can get people to start talking to you, is word of mouth marketing on steroids. And we'll go over a lot of the figures and things that we've been able to achieve. But just a kind of an important snippet for guys like Ross is we've ran the last 2.5 quarters with no paid traditional advertising. So we're pretty jazzed about that, and we've been able to lower our costs significantly.
Yeah, so that equated to over $100,000 a month in savings to the properties, right? So he's going to talk about that, how we were able to accomplish that. So thank you, Eric. Big hand for Eric. So the next guy, you didn't know I was going to pull him up on stage, but Sid Cohn is our legal counsel. So big hand for Sid. So the reason we wanted Sid here is one, because he's spoken to many of you. We've known each other for 20 years, right? He actually hired me as a property manager, right?
Oh, yes.
I remember. This is a true story. He hired me as a property manager. His partner, which I won't name, and him were having a dispute. So his partner moved onto the property, right? So my very first job was to take over the building and evict his partner. Right? I was like,
it was downhill from there.
Yeah, downhill from there. But the reason, as Kiyosaki likes to say, the people on your team, you want them to you want them to not just be transactional. You want them to understand, and be investors themselves. So Sid was also a big is a big real estate investor. So when we started doing a lot of business and we started ramping up together, it was very easy for him to understand. Instead of just having us as a client, he was approaching it from his own personal experience of many years of real estate investing, and of course he still is. So Sid, nice to have you here.
Well, thank you, Ken.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure to be here.
So Sid, where his role comes in is multiple roles. Obviously, on the when we like yesterday, we had a call with a group out in New York on a property, and one of the things we discussed was, when are we going to get the purchase and sale agreement to review, the first draft. That would go to Sid, and then his team would roll forward. And if we had a loan agreement, he would be handling that. And so, Sid, why don't you talk a little bit about some of the things that you do with us? Because we talk almost every day, right?
Yes, correct.
At least once or twice a day.
Or more, yeah, three. Yeah. So what I do is try to facilitate everything that this whole team does well. And that means being available for all things at all times. But on a given transaction, I'll be hearing about different things that they're trying to acquire, and then if they get a best and final and the opportunity to buy a property, then right away they either are going to be receiving a purchase and sale agreement from the seller, or we generate one on our side as a purchaser. So we do that, and the speed at which it has to be done is very fast. Because one of the things that they've offered up in order to get to best and final is that they will move fast. So we go through all that, and at the same time, we try to preserve our ability to make sure that we perform all the investigation. When I say we, it's this team, and what we do as attorneys regarding title and everything else that's incidental to the acquisition. And so we work through the purchase and sale agreement. Sometimes they're easy, sometimes they're not. Coordinate everything with the title company and making sure that we get all the information that we need, and really look beyond that which is superficial to find out if there's anything there that's going to come back and bite us possibly after a due diligence period is over. So we work with that, and as soon as that's going on, we're also working with the financing of it. And that means coordinating the financing, looking at the commitments to make sure that there isn't anything in the commitments that are going to be adversely impactful, and then contacting the lenders and working with their counsel to make sure that we're able to meet the timeline once again and the expectation that we have to get the type of loan necessary so that the next step can occur, which is going out to the rest of you with a business plan so that everything can be in place in order to process, approve, and close on that transaction on a timely basis. So that's part of it. I probably left out a lot.
No, it's great. Sid, you're going to be here just through lunch, right?
I am.
Okay, yeah. So if you want to chat with him, he does have to leave after lunch, and make sure you bend his ear a little bit or get his card or whatever. And there's a tremendous amount of discussion in a business, in a purchase and sale agreement, as many of you know. Yeah. Everything from due diligence timelines and what we should be getting, everything that has to do with the loan, the fundability of the deposits and the time frames associated with those, the title work, the survey, the ALTA, all of those things, when we're going to close, what are the financial conditions if they're not met and the seller doesn't do what they say or we don't do what they say. So there's a lot inside of that agreement, and so we appreciate you and you guys, your entire team. He has his own firm called the Cohn Law Firm, and we wanted him to introduce him to you guys because he's a big integral part of our organization. So big hand for Sid.
Thank you.
And if you give him your business card, he will call you on your office, and then he'll call you on your cell, and then he'll text you,
and then he'll
send you an email to tell you that he's called you on your office and called you on your cell and texted you.
So I set all my stuff with different ringtones, and I know they're Sid, so I can hear him. He literally, I don't know how you do it, but you call how you can call so many places at one time. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. I don't know how we do it without you. So thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Sometimes when Ross and I are together, it'll go Sid, 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 Sid. Right?
Then Autumn comes in and says, Sid's trying to get a hold of you.
Yeah. But so last but not least, and we got about 10 minutes. So Leslie Bryce, big hand for Leslie, the president of our company. So Leslie's got a big piece of today, and what we want to do is she's going to have some of the folks that work for us stand up, just so you know who they are. My suggestion is that She's going to say what they do, who they are, and then it gives you guys the opportunity to go seek them out at the break or the lunch or the dinner, or whatever. So Leslie, go ahead after you.
Thank you, Kenny. So today we plan to talk a lot about operations and some of the exceptions we deal with throughout the year. And who was here last year? Show of hands again. And who was not? Okay, so a lot of you haven't met them, so it's good that we're going to be doing an introduction this morning, but they're going to be talking a great deal today about some of the things that they're working on to manage the properties for a higher cash flow. I want all of the asset team to stand up that's presenting today, please. Great. Stay standing, please. So up front here, Michelle, raise your hand. Michelle Sinclair. Michelle Sinclair handles all of our operational. She's our director of operations, so she's going to be talking today about a lot of the initiatives that she's working on. She handles everything related to systems and much, much more. She'll go into some great detail. Mary Rogers, raise your hand. Mary Rogers is the asset manager in Arizona. She's one of the asset managers in Arizona handling Flagstaff, Phoenix, and some of the Tucson portfolio. And Andy Hernandez, raise your hand. Andy Hernandez, been here well over 10 years. How long, Andy? 13 years. Big hand for Andy. Andy handles he's a director of maintenance operations. He handles all of the maintenance crew with a great big team. He accomplishes some great miracles. We'll talk a lot about what he's working on today. Linda Claiborne. Hello, Linda. Hey. Linda is that gal that Kenny was talking about that handles a lot of that ancillary revenue. So she is our director of that, and she'll talk a lot about where she's focused for the year. Greg Flatt. Greg Flatt, asset manager for Tucson. He handles the Tucson 8 along with a new lease up, Presidio Trails. So he's your guy to talk to about that. Amanda Tronsdell. Amanda is Ross's beautiful daughter and handles all of our transactions relative to the debt service. So she's going to talk about what transactions we had and really what went into that this last year. And Rick Biorgo. Yeah. Rick is our asset manager who oversees all of Oklahoma and Texas assets. So he's your guy to go to talk about those deals. Pam Briand. Pam handles all of the rent revenue, and she does pricing for all of our properties, is constantly looking at the markets and working with the managers to make sure we're priced right. So she's going to go into a lot of detail about that today. And Patty Becker. I want to take a moment to just say a little something about Patty. She's an early mentor for me. When I started in the industry, she took a big chance and hired me because I really needed a job. And she has taught me a humility over the years, and she handles all of our customer service and reputation management. Residents call in, she's the one that deals with them, and she helps them to find resolution. So thank you, Patty. And Phil Burton. Phil Burton. Hello, Phil. Phil is a contractor we brought in to help learn about flooring. We knew we had an issue. One of our biggest line items on our financial statements is none other than flooring. So we knew we had a lot to learn. So Phil came in. He's going to share some of the things he taught us and what our new program is going to be, or that we're working through right now. Thank you, Phil. Jen Harmon. Jennifer has worked through the ranks within the company. She's been in many roles, including being my assistant. And she said, nope, got to go work with the team, got to get out in the field. So she does a lot of the training and operational and systems work within our company relative to the software systems and anything that's training related. Jennifer's that gal. Have I missed anyone? Great. So that's the asset team. Big hand for these guys.
So why don't you talk about, so Leslie's going to talk right after lunch at 1 o'clock for an hour and a half. And all those folks, they've been working on what they do and how they do it, so you guys can get an idea of some of the stuff that, it's a lot of moving parts. They're going to touch on some of the things that they do, all related to generating cash flow. So why don't you talk about how you're going to maybe orchestrate that after lunch?
So we're going to talk a lot about what our key performance indicators are. Basically, that just is our ability. It's like our report card for all of the properties, so that we know where to focus. We do a lot of management by exception rather than by rule. We don't largely have a lot of reporting. We let the system work for that, work for that advantage. But what we're going to talk about is how we drill down into issues and how we identify them, how often we meet to talk through those, and some of the issues, but also some of the solutions that exist when you run a portfolio of properties. There's an issue a minute.
Yeah. So the way we're gonna try it this year is we're basically gonna run through the major components of a financial, from gross scheduled rent to vacancy to other income to all the expense line items to net operating income to debt to cash flow. So we thought it was because essentially that's what we look at every day. It's going to be fun to kind of walk through that as a company. And talk about all the different categories that we're literally very, very active on to try to squeeze more revenue for the properties. And these are all the folks that are directly responsible for doing that out of our corporate office in Scottsdale and Tucson, right? So anything else?
Oh, I do want to recognize the accounting team. We didn't get a chance to acknowledge
course.
them. So will the accounting team stand up? Yay.
And where's Freddie? There's Freddie, Katrina. You want to introduce everybody?
Freddie, raise your hand. Freddie is our CFO. And Katrina is our regional maintenance supervisor. No, regional accounting supervisor. And Becky.
Yep.
She's a staff accountant. So not all of the accountants could be here today, but I wanted to recognize them because they work on thousands of financials every year, process all of the checks for the AP, and really keep the systems rolling.
And I want to thank you guys. It is Saturday, right? Is it Saturday? Saturday. And again, these folks want to be here, literally, and I just want to thank the employees for coming on this today, just like you guys. There's families and there's things going on in all of our lives, and so I just want to thank everybody on the MC side for being here today for this event too. It's very important for us, so thank you.
So 3 more people. Okay, so we also have 3 more people we want to introduce you to. Lori, will you please stand up? Lori Coop. She's our Director of Investor Relations. And Lisa, will you please stand up? Lisa Taylor. She handles all of our legal and regulatory services. She handles all the tax and insurance. And where's Sharon Van Kilsdonk?
Sharon?
Sharon.
Yeah, there's Sharon.
Sharon's our new HR director, and we also have our HR director emeritus here, Susan Lichter.
Yeah, where's she?
Where are you, Susan?
Susan, just, how long is she?
She was here 16 years.
So, Susan just retired. Stand up, Susan. 16 years with us. You just can't, you just you just needed more? Is that why you came? So we had a nice retirement party for Susan, and she's a huge part of our growth, our organization, and what's that? She's an investor. And she's an investor, yeah. So thank you, Susan. Thanks for coming, and Sharon. So, okay, we're We're right out of time. We're going to take a 15-minute break. Everybody, please stand up. Let's see. It's 9:45 according to my watch. So right at 10, we'll start with Charlie. And again, this is your event. Anything that you guys would like us to discuss, we're very fluid. We're not stuck on anything. So thank you very much. We'll see you right after the break.